What is up, everyone? Welcome back to our gear garage.
This is probably one of our most asked about things on all of our channels. We love how much all of you love this wall, and it's been really amazing to have. It makes packing and unpacking from a trip super easy. Everything has its place. I hate packing and I hate unpacking, and this has made it much more bearable. I think what we really want to emphasize with this is Kelly built this whole thing out of plywood and 2x4s, and it was a very simple build. We bought some different hooks here and there that have been really helpful, but it was not a huge, super expensive project. And I think that's really awesome that this can be done without much experience.
After using it for the past 2 years-ish, we've learned some things that we love and might put into the next build. We've also learned about the things that we really don't like and really wish we could change.
There are some things about this build that are extremely unfunctional, and at this point, it's not really worth changing. So we're trying to analyze, figure out what we can do better, and hopefully save you the trouble.
Starting off on a positive note, let's talk about the things that we really like in this build. This section right here is the foundation of what this build was based on. I hate stacking boxes. I cannot overstate how much I hate stacking boxes and unstacking them to get to the bottom one. So what I did here is I just put little rails so these boxes can slide back and forth on them. And these boxes are things that we don't need access to all the time and definitely don't stack very well. For example, we have sleeping bags and day packs in here that we don't use as often, and winter stuff down in the bottom. Pulling the winter gear off the bottom without having to pull all the other boxes off is very convenient.
One of my favorite parts of this build has been these smaller boxes for all of the small items. I mean, there's headlamps, there's multi-tools, lighters, all of the little things that I really want access to when I'm packing for a backpacking trip, but they wouldn't really fit into a big box. These just slide out, unclip. I got it all right here, and it also helps me not forget stuff because I have to see these boxes right when I'm grabbing a backpack. We currently have a medical aid and bathroom box, we have a food and games box, lights and tools, and then a water filtration box. I really like these. We just got these boxes from Costco, and speaking of which, we also got all of these yellow boxes from Costco. This is actually our camp kitchen box, which is another great catch-all. When we want to go camping, this has all of the things that we would need to cook. We just grab this box, grab a camp stove, and we're ready to go. While we are in this section, I also absolutely love our backpacks. These can be kind of weird to store, but we've found that they work really well just on clothing hangers. Wrap the straps around and they each slide into their spot. Currently have backpacking packs, day hiking packs, and climbing packs, and this makes it really easy. You grab a pack, you grab all the stuff you need, and you're ready. Kelby just put a little dowel up here, and then these are literally just from our closet.
This is my absolute favorite section, not just because it's fun to look at, but also because it's our most frequently repacked, and it's very satisfying to pack it. In this section, we got these cheap hooks. They're not specifically designed around climbing gear, but they work really well for the application here. It's super easy to just grab the things we need, leave behind the things we don't, throw it in a backpack, and when we come back, it's really easy to reorganize it. I really did my best to maximize this entire cubby for everything we have. I got this big hook, which actually holds all of our ropes, helmets off on the side, harnesses tucked underneath all the gear. As you can see, every square inch of this box is pretty much used up.
When Kelby built this whole thing, and he obviously built the whole thing for me, we sat down, he was like, what are your top requests, the biggest things that are most important to you? And one of mine was somewhere to dry our gear. Every time we get home from a camping trip or a backpacking trip, we explode because everything needs to be dried out, like sleeping bags, tents, jackets. And so I wanted somewhere to do that wasn't in our living room. And so really simple, we just added these hooks throughout our ski section specifically. So this works really well in the winter right now. Every time we get home, we hang all of our backpacks, our ski gear, anything that's wet on these hooks, and they can just sit here and dry, and I don't have to see them in my house. Then once everything's dry, you can see that we actually just have our ski backpacks ready to go right now. This is all packed, so when I want to go tomorrow morning, I can just grab this and go.
This may be my other favorite section, and I feel like it's really simple, but it is our bike storage. With this garage being so small, bikes living on the floor really didn't make sense, so we had to find a way to get them up on the wall and get them out of the way. These bike racks will be in absolutely every build of ours in the future. I've really loved how convenient they are to just pull the bike off the wall. It actually folds up and gets out of the way when the bikes aren't in here. And then when we get home, fold it back down, and the bike just goes up on a wheelie and rolls right onto the rack. The thing that makes these racks the most convenient is that they actually swing and fold over into the wall to get them as far out of the way as possible. Now that we've gone over all the positives, let's get into the things that we would probably change in our next one. And first is gonna be the most controversial thing in our garage. We understand that it shouldn't be this way, but in these boxes live our sleeping bags. Unfortunately, they're a little compressed. We do our best to not compress them all the way, and they don't live in stuff sacks, but in this garage, we just don't have a spot to hang them. So unfortunately, they do live in boxes.
If you don't know, storing sleeping bags in their compressed state is not great for the down. I mean, we have pretty high quality sleeping bags at this point, and you want them to live as fluffed as possible because the down and when it's fluffed is what keeps you warm. If you store it in a stuff sack, which we don't do, if you store it in a stuff sack, the down will eventually stop lasting. So ideally, we would have something like this backpack hanging thing, but for down sleeping bags specifically, but we gotta really upgrade the size of our garage to be able to do that.
Let the down be free.
Honestly, right now, I do have to say, like, they feel protected. We've had mice in this garage. I'm not worried about mice getting into our sleeping bags. There's no dust. So that's kind of the
garage does double as my workshop, so it is the safest place for them. It's just unfortunate that they can't be hanging. When we built this setup, we were definitely trying to save as much money as possible. So we went with some pretty cheap hooks, again, for our ski racks. Now, I know these aren't the best for the skis. They can affect the camber if the skis sit up there for too long. These hooks are a really great option for, I think, $15 per set. Not bad. Now, I got to go a little bougie for my hook. I went with gravity grabbers. They are awesome. They make it really easy. If there's just one snowboard, they still hang. You don't have to worry about the tips holding together to lock into place. They're definitely more expensive, but for the future, I think they're worth every penny, and all of our ski racks will be gravity grabbers. The reason these work so well is these are actually little cams that pinch together and lock on to the board or skis, whereas this just relies on pressure from the outward tips and forces them together.
This shelf is my least favorite part of the entire build. And I thought that this was gonna be such a good idea. I really wanted like open shelving. I thought that it was gonna be such a great way to like store tall things like these water bottles, things that I wanted to be able to grab and be able to see it all laid out. So we ended up building these really deep open shelves, and I don't know, I can't even reach my arm all the way back there. To get anything on this shelf, I have to either move everything off of this or reach all the way back. And every time I grab a backpack, I knock at least 3 of these water bottles off. This was just a really poor design. I really think that like storing things in boxes has proved to be the better way for anything that's small. And then if we were to do open shelves, like if we had more space, I would do like a thin one where it's only 1 or 2 items deep. But this shelf is the bane of my existence. Like I've said quite a bit, one of our biggest focuses was that we could just grab stuff and go. So we thought that it was gonna be a really good idea to have our camp kitchen box and then build this space for a cooler down here. This has proved to just be a giant waste of space, in all honesty. We use the cooler sometimes. We do have a truck camper, so we end up using our fridge in there quite a bit. This cooler is just living empty right now, but I don't wanna fill it because if I fill it, then when I wanna take it, I have to take everything out of it, and that defeats the purpose. But this space could have been used so much better because we aren't reaching for this all that often. So in the future, we would probably move this down and make enough room for a cooler up top. And I mean, we could use this space to expand climbing. We could use it to store like our tents and stuff. I don't know, this could just be used much better. I don't know why we built an entire giant space around this cooler.
This is a gripe that applies to the entire build. I'm just gonna use the climbing section here as an example. I wish that we built in room to grow. I built this section to exactly the gear we had to make it look pretty. But since then, our climbing skills have grown. Therefore, our climbing rack has grown, and we are overflowing this section. As you can tell by our stacked shoes here, it's just getting out of hand. Another example, when we built this, we didn't have as many mountaineering boots as we have. We both got an additional pair of boots, and now they're just stuffed in there hoping that they'll fit. If we get any more gear in the future, who knows where it'll go in this section. Unfortunately, I think it's something that'll be a never-ending issue. We do our best not to buy excessive amounts of gear, but sometimes things do change, and maybe the shape or the size or one specific category needs to change a little. And in the future, maybe we'll build this so that we can have change or we can expand a little.
So like we have previously hinted at, there's a chance we might be building another one of these. No promises, not anytime soon.
Hopefully in a bigger garage if it happens.
But it's definitely very interesting to like see what's worked really well, see what hasn't worked. I'd be curious if you have any additional suggestions or things that you found that worked really well, because we could always use tips. I'm excited for the next one because maybe we'll like paint it or something.
Yeah, behind all the gear here is all like my drawings and measurements where I wrote it all out. And then because we were on a budget, we're like, there's no need to paint any of this. So here we are.
It's worked really well. We're still really happy with it. Honestly, it's been such a luxury to have this, and we know that. But I'm excited to see what else we could do.
Thank you so much for stopping by our second tour of our gear garage. You can go check out the original tour, which goes into detail of everything else. Like she said, if you have any suggestions, please drop them in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.